So a lot of times you hear people saying Native American or Indians, and you realize that the people that lived here before the Europeans came over never called themselves North Americans, and they never called themselves Indians, because obviously they're not from India, and anybody born here is a North American, so they have to be something different. So if you ask them, if we look at what they called themselves, pretty much everybody called themselves the people or human beings or some variation of like that, like rainbow people or the people of the shells or people of the longhouse. My tribe called themselves the Lun, which is the true people and or the true human beings. And then you dissect it as to what the people who came over here called themselves. And they call themselves human beings as well, but the difference between a true human being and a human being is this. Say you come over to the eastern states or eastern Canada and you meet people. You say, who are you guys? Oh, we're human beings. And those are the Native Americans or the indigenous. And then the people coming here and say, oh, we're British or we're French. And by separating yourself off from being a human being, you give yourself the ability to hate people who aren't like you. They're still human beings, but they're not true human beings. If you were a true human being, you wouldn't try to kill somebody because they spoke a different language, or you wouldn't try to kill somebody because they were from a different country. So the trick with being a human being is to let go of things like nationalism or religion or language or any kind of demarcation that separates you from being a human. So people say, I'm a human being, that's a rock, that's a tree, those are rabbits and birds. Who are you? Oh, we're British from King George. Right away, you're separate. And this way you give the ability to kill other people. And remember, this is why they've never actually stopped calling people from North America Indians since they first got here. So Columbus came over here. He thought he was in India. They called everybody Indians. But 500 years later, they still call them Indians. Why? Because it's hard to say, let's go kill those human beings over there. Because people wouldn't fall for it. They go, wait, we're human beings too. How can you kill other human beings? But if you call them just Indians, well, yeah, we can kill Indians. There's no problem. And one of the biggest difference between human beings and Europeans is that human beings in North America went by a different system. When you were the best at something, you were elevated by your society to be in charge. So if you're a chief, it's usually because you're the best at doing everything. And you got so good at doing everything that you were able to help everybody else do what they were doing. A king, on the other hand, is somebody who's really good at killing people by not raising his status by himself through his deeds, but by killing other people and lowering their status. So you have peasants and kings. So you have an upper class and a lower class. The people on the North American continent were more about raising everybody else. So if you were weak, they would help you get up. And if you're old, they'd help you do things that you could no longer do. Because eventually they realized that they would probably be in the same situation. This was called the path of power. Not power over people where you suppress them and take their food and land away from them and take their money, but power of how nature works. So for instance, a tree in nature grows up against gravity. That's called power. It lowers down fruits for animals to eat so the animals can raise up against gravity. So the Native Americans, or the human beings, would go and do the same thing within themselves. So if you had somebody who had lots of power, lots of strength, lots of smartness or wisdom, they could help people. So if you're really good at building a canoe, you can teach people how to build a canoe, and everybody would have a canoe. You wouldn't just be one guy with a canoe beating up everybody who didn't have a canoe, for instance. And that's really the biggest difference. The biggest difference on this side was about helping everybody to become stronger, and the difference on the other side was about making yourself stronger to suppress everybody else.